everybody, and welcome to the Ronnie Show. Well, safe to say the Muskies have had quite the weekend. They did have quite the weekend, and we heard from some familiar faces again, which is why we're making this show. I warned you that this was probably going to be a weekly update every single week, but it just makes it more fun, for me at least. Um, so the Muskies, while they were on a 7-game winning streak, we didn't hear much from Darius and Joey, but all of a sudden, bam, they break that streak, and all of a sudden, ooh, fireworks, pretty much. And boy, they definitely, especially Darius, definitely turned it up to 11. I'm just gonna say that, because holy crap. Well, you'll see why here in a second, because it's pretty outrageous. I'll just say that. Oh god, we like to make fun of them just because, every time we win or whatever, and Fargo, well, they don't necessarily lose, but what have you, he likes to go just radio silent on us, and then when we lose, he likes to be, a thorn in our side, we'll just say that. And this was definitely not a surprise that we heard after him from last night. So let's give you some context. Well, going into last weekend, the Muskies had won 5 straight. They had a big weekend series. Dubuque, Cedar Rapids, and then Tri-City, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all at home. Which, the 3 games in a row is already quite unusual, but, well, I guess it's not really usual. It's going to happen a couple of times throughout the season, but it just seems like we've been hammered with, I think this is probably the 5th time this season we've had 3 games right in a row, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Well, there was one where it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but, well, no, twice, and then, yeah, Thursday, Friday, I don't even know. My mind's so corroded because of this whole thing with Darius and Joey, which you'll see why here, like I said, in a few minutes. But, so we got the win against Dubuque Friday night. Pretty good game. Sioux City, I think, definitely had the upper hand on Dubuque. The Cedar Rapids game, in my opinion, wasn't as great, to be quite honest with you. We weren't really turning it over too much, but we were letting them have a lot of shots. We'll just say that. And I will say, you'll see these shot totals during these Muskies games, and some nights the other team will have double the amount of shots we have. Obviously we don't want to take shots when we, because, just because the puck is at the blue line with a defender there doesn't mean we have to shoot, because 1, that defender could block it and run down the ice and score again, which would really not be good. And 2, there's probably somebody that's better open that will have a better shot at it that way, because then it gives time for the defenders to move. So, yeah, and sometimes they're not always there in time, etc., etc. Well, so that game happened, and then yesterday, as I'm filming this it was definitely quite the crapshoot, I'll just say that. And, of course, we heard from Darius and Joey. Like I said, we'll hear from them later on in the show. But, safe to say we have only won, however you want to say that, 1 game out of 6 this year against Tri-City, which is just craziness. We lost all 3 of them at home. We lost 2 of them on the road. Both of those on the road were in overtime, so that kind of sucked. And the 3 at home were pretty much, Tri-City had the upper hand in both of those games. So yeah, safe to say, we've struggled against Tri-City, and they are a potential playoff matchup. I think it's on the lower end in terms of likeliness. I think we're going to play Fargo, quite honestly. I think that's what a lot of people are thinking of. And Tri-City, they've got the top team in the league, Lincoln, this weekend, so that'll definitely be an interesting one. Well, and it will be interesting to see, whether or not Lincoln, maybe rests some of their star players, or they're actually going to be nice to us and trying to help us out, but I highly doubt that's going to happen, because, when you're the top team in the league, you only care about yourself and nobody else, so that's just being flat out honest right there. But, so that will be interesting to see. So yeah, and then of course when we always struggle against Tri-City or whatever, Darius and Joey gotta flap their gums. So yeah, safe to say it got a little, well, it's not the craziest it's been. I'll just say that because there have been some more crazy times. This is, I'm sure once we get into postseason, they've already turned it up to 11. They're going to probably turn it up to 12 or 13 once playoff time comes, and then you'll. But anyway, yeah. So they, well, I guess we'll get to that when we get to that. But yeah, I actually, as I know, to me, if you, especially this year with this year's Fargo team, we played them 8 times, times 2 points for a win, that's 16 points. We've got 15 out of 16 points from Fargo this year, so that really should say a lot. We almost had a perfect 16 out of 16, so they really have no room to talk. So I can't believe that they're higher than Tri-City on standings wise. That just surprises me, which is probably a good thing. And Tri-City might be meeting Waterloo at the best possible time for them, which is just lovely because they have a couple of their star players, including both their main goaltenders, are injured right now. So that really sucks for them. Although I think if they do, well, when they do go on to play Sioux Falls, they'll easily, take them down. I mean, that's no secret there. But, then, of course, we're going to have to face them in the Western Conference Finals, which... So, yeah. Perfect timing for that, I swear. So, yeah, this should be interesting this next month and a half as we inch closer towards the end of the regular season. So, well, towards the end of the regular season this upcoming weekend. Like I said, I'm going to try and cover both games in full if I can. If not, no big deal. We'll just do a recap type thing. So, yeah. But I know you guys have been waiting a while to see what Darius and Joey have to say. Well, you're going to have to wait a couple more minutes longer because we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to hear what they had to say. And like I said, it's a little juicy, but they could have gone way further with what they said. I'm just going to say that. So, yeah, we'll take a break. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, everybody. Well, it's now time to look at, some interesting comments made about yesterday's game as I'm filming this. This is, really the whole point of the episode right here. So it started out just 2 minutes. All it took was 2 minutes after the game ended yesterday from this to come out of Joey's mouth. What's the difference between the Fargo Force and the Sioux City Muskies? If we look at this weekend, Fargo was able to beat Tri-City. Now, there's a couple of things that, yes, are true and are absolutely wrong about that. Yes, Fargo played dominantly versus Tri-City this weekend, but that's just because Tri-City just flat out sucked. And Friday night, 3 out of the 6 goals were all empty netters. So it was actually pretty damn close Friday night. It was just those empty netters killed them at the end. But, and the other thing too, that Joey, I don't think, here's the thing. They only look at the one game. They don't look at, a full weekend or a full season, anything like that. We also won both games Friday night and Saturday night. So clearly we're still the better team. And this guy's just an idiot, which we've known now for the past 2 months. So that was nothing really all that new. And then the comments, of course, this one guy was like, oh, wow, great trash talk. Yeah, because the page that this was in was a league-wide trash talk page where you could basically bash teams however you want to. And not, at least not have any serious repercussions. I mean, you can bring teams, I guess, but you can't say anything about, like, an individual player, like, about their history and their background, because there was some issues with that in the league a couple of years ago. So, yeah, and that got definitely people talking. And then the next guy was like, Sioux City claimed home ice and you didn't, which exactly they did. And then here was the best one, I think. Joey, you're about as likable as expired milk. Maybe sit this one out if you're endangered or completely missing a home playoff game, which that could happen. I mean, even if Fargo makes it to the second round, which more than likely they're not going to, they still have to play 2 games on the road before they can even come back at home. So that's the even crazier part, is that they're not going to see any home games probably for 2 weeks. Well, maybe a week and a half, actually. I take that back, a week and a half. So that's the funny thing. And then this guy from Sioux City. Just think of it this way. It looks like you get to come to Sioux City for the first round. And you know what? If this guy comes all the way up from Fargo down to Sioux City, I would like to meet him. I honestly, personally would. And tell him what an idiot he is. Because that's just fun. It's fun to me, you know? It's because other teams' fans, most of them don't even know about hockey. Sioux City has definitely the most passionate fan base out of any team in the USHL. You know, we go all out for certain things, celebrations, like, you know, because usually every year for the playoffs, well, they have the last couple of years, they brought like a fan bus or whatever. I mean, what other team brings a fan bus from their city to an away game? Like, who does that? Like, nobody, as far as I know. And I look at all the team social media pages pretty regularly, and I haven't seen, you know, that happen before. But yeah, all it takes is, you know, like $50, and, you know, you get free beer, free drinks, free food. Well, at least on the way there. That pays for your ticket on the bus, you know. Like, who does that? Who does that? Nobody, but Sioux City does. So, yeah. And then, well, we'll get into some other news, too, in part 3 of our show. Okay. And then, the granddaddy comment of them all from Darius. Hey, everybody. Let's take it easy on the Musketeers tonight. So, okay, you're trying to already have sympathy for us. And like I said, pretend. That's the word here. Pretend. Losing to the 6th place team is already embarrassing enough for them. I'll reach out to the Tyson Center in the morning to see if you guys can get a refund for that poor performance. Is this guy stupid? Is this guy for real or not? I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like, you know, $40 back for 2 tickets, one that I don't even use. I wouldn't mind that, but this guy doesn't seriously think the arena's going to refund us our money, right? Well, and it's not just the arena. You know, obviously the league and the team has some of that money too, so it's not like the arena gets all of the money. I mean, that's how NHL makes the majority of its money, is by ticket sales. So it's like, but hey, like I said, Fargo fans, obviously, as you could tell, they are the dumbest breeds of fans ever. Sioux Falls, ooh, God. It's not that they're weird, they just are really annoying, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that was pretty much it for that. I just thought that was very interessante. Although, let's see, there was... Well, we had the Keith thing from last week. That was... God, was it last week or 2 weeks? Well, whenever that was. Let's see, there's one I'm looking for here. Was it in... I'm looking for it right here. Oh, yeah, because there's going to be some interesting news here about Omaha. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so here is how things are going to set up for this weekend. We'll get to that here quickly. So right now, as we speak, Fargo enters this weekend 2 points ahead of Tri-City. I believe Fargo is at 62 points, and Tri-City is... Well, no, I take that back. Let me look that up, just so that I have my facts down correctly. Because, you know, that's the last thing we need. Okay, yeah, Fargo does have 62. Tri-City has 60 points going into this weekend. Oh, God, and then I lost it. I knew I would do that, too. Okay, here it is. Now, Tri-City ends the season, they'll go to Lincoln Friday night, and then Lincoln will go to their house, their barn, Saturday night. Fargo will do the same thing, similar to. So Sioux Falls will come to Fargo, and then Fargo goes to Sioux Falls. So that's how that is going to work. And it could be interesting, because this guy who we've known for a while now. Sioux City is 7-0-0-1 against Fargo. That's a fact. And they're 1-3-2-0 against Tri-City this year. That's also a fact. With Sioux City being locked into 4th place, will Lincoln's biggest fans this weekend be from Sioux City? A Lincoln sweep would guarantee Sioux City plays Fargo. Now, obviously we could hope that happens. However, though, Friday night, all we would need to figure out or need to know is whether or not Fargo wins. Because if Fargo wins and Tri-City loses, which I think honestly will probably happen, then Saturday night means absolutely nothing. However, though, if Tri-City wins and Fargo loses Friday night, that's going to set up a very interesting. It's going to be interesting. I'll just say that. But there's also the scenario that they could potentially end up in a tie this weekend. Now, the tiebreakers, I'm not sure in what order it goes in, but what I can say is when you look at standings, Fargo and Tri-City have the same amount of wins. They each got 28 wins on the year. Now, I'm not sure. I think there's like a second tiebreaker that obviously in a league like this, there's probably several tiebreakers, that could happen. So they obviously prepare for that. Although I think this weekend, if Tri-City won one of the games and Fargo won one of the games, it still wouldn't matter because Fargo still has the 2-point edge. So I don't think it's going to come down to tiebreakers. I think it's going to come down. I mean, obviously, if Tri-City wins one game and that's it, and Fargo loses two, that's when the tiebreakers would come in. And I think Tri-City would overtake Fargo at that point, which is something we do not need to have happen. So Fargo, for the love of God. Oh, the other point I wanted to bring up before I say it. I'm sure now that Sioux Falls and Fargo have clinched first and second, their first round buys, probably what will end up happening is they will be resting some of their top players. Whether it's by scratching them or moving them down a couple of lines, so that they get less ice time, what have you. That's also probably going to play a role. Although with games as big as these this weekend, I don't know. Friday night they'll probably keep with their regular lineup, but Saturday that's probably when they'll rest all their players. And this is why I want to be on the air all evening long, Friday night and Saturday night, so that we could see in real time how this all plays out, because it's going to be very interesting this weekend. Probably one of the biggest weekends since I've been calling Musketeers games for the last 9 seasons now. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. I don't think we've had something as close as this where we, I think we pretty much knew the spot and knew the team we were playing, but I don't remember it ever being, this close at all. So that's going to be the real fun part on Friday night and Saturday night. So, make sure you tune in here to RVN. RVN is your home for championship television. We cover all 4 sports championships. We do March Madness, college football. Well, college football, just this season we introduced that. So, yeah. So, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have some news and other notes to wrap it all up. And, send us on our way. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, everybody, to the Ronnie Show. Well, some other interesting news. We pretty much have Omaha left to talk about here. Obviously, as you know, their announcer is not, well, he's not the most liked. I'll just say that. Just because I guess he's a little loud and, doesn't. I mean, part of his job is to, be a homer, but I guess some of these people think he takes it a little too far and whatever. And so there's this comment here, a couple of them actually. Why is Omaha announcer always yelling, my God? So that already. And then this one says, is this Omaha's every game announcer? Should have muted it forever ago. Well, that's because Cedar Rapids doesn't have a play-by-play announcer. They don't broadcast any of the games. Well, I mean, you could get the game streamed, but you have to listen to the other team's broadcasters for that. So that's probably, I think, what happened here. So, yeah. And then, let's see, there was also another interesting thing from Omaha. And the reason why I say that is because he actually has autism, so it's tough because, I want to make fun of him, but that part, of course, is holding me back because, I don't want to sound like a humongous jerk and get canceled. So, yeah, I don't know. I try not to touch that line as much as possible. But there was another interesting development out of Omaha. I thought I saw it on this page, but let's see if maybe I can find it on here. Because it's, well, or maybe it's, which one would it be on? Oh, it's probably on this one. Come on. I know it's here. I saw it, but just right after we took this last commercial break. I know I saw it, but where the hell did it go? It was something about the league actually intervening in Omaha. Oh, right here. I just didn't read it. Okay, so I guess according to this guy, Mike Jacuzzi, there is some rumors going around Omaha that Picozzi, the complete dweeble dwarf of an owner down in Omaha, he has been sidelined by a no-confidence vote by the USHL Board of Owners, and they are considering hiring... Oh, okay. So they hired a board of directors consisting of another team from Omaha and an ex-Lancers alumni. And what this guy is saying that because of that, there might not be any choice for Picozzi but to sell the team because he has no decision-making abilities. Well, because obviously, as you know, they've had at least 4 or 5 head coaches at this point. And in fact, the one they just have is, or what, I don't even know what I just tried to say. Okay, let's back up here a minute. So I think the 4th head coach they've had this season, his name is Scott Petruska. Now, before he got into the head coaching role, he was an assistant coach, which that happens all the time. So he got upgraded. However, once they fired him and replaced him with this new guy, Ron Fogarty, he actually went back to his assistant coaching role, which that right there just tells you how dysfunctional Omaha, the organization, is. I'll tell you that much, because that's just craziness. And some of the reactions are, if this is true, this one guy said, if this is true, then WTF took the league so long to act. That's already interesting. And this one other lady is like, for the sake of the boys, I hope it's true, because he needs to stay sidelined. Now, see, Omaha, these fans and fans around the league have been defending the Omaha players, saying like, we feel so bad for the boys that they have to go through all this. I honestly don't feel as badly for them as they do, because they have had I'm sure, multiple opportunities throughout the season, and some people were even saying this too, to stand up and say, I'm not going to deal with this crap anymore, and, walk out, which a lot of players did. A lot of them requested trades, what have you. But what they should have done as a team, got up, walked out, and not played a game for the rest of the season. That's what they should have done, instead of just having, every week a trade of a star player happen. Because, that's only half the team. That's not the full team. Like I said, to sum all that up before we got to get to another break here. But I thought that instead of, and I was even saying this in January, that they should have stood up as a team and walked out and not played a game the rest of the season. It would have saved Omaha fans, the staff, the arena, all of that. It would have saved them enough pain and suffering. I'll just say that. Because the last 2 seasons have been absolute horse crap for them. But somehow people, Omaha, if you go on their Facebook page, and clearly you can tell, too, that they have had all these different charity events to get butts in the seat. But that's exactly what these events were for, to get butts in the seats. Most of these weren't pre-planned at the beginning of the year. In fact, they hardly had a promotions list because, obviously, how last year went with them. So, yeah, it's just, Omaha is definitely dysfunctional. We'll take a break. We'll be back. Welcome back. Well, what did we learn here tonight? Well, I think we learned that this is just the beginning from Fargo fans, especially once we head into the postseason. The comments are only going to get more juicier and spicier. So, of course, we'll have all those for you right here on the Ronnie Show. Like I said, this might be a weekly update. And safe to say, Omaha, there's definitely a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes going on. I'll see you next time.
Closed captioning brought to you in part by